8 year-end tax tips we're going to cover. And I like this one. I was at a conference last week and had some featured speaker, and they were kind of talking about deferring income. I like the idea of deferring income. Like, what if you don't, you have income and you don't need it?
Right.
I know you're like, what are you talking about? I need all I can get. Yeah, but what if you could put some off later and not pay taxes now? And that's kind of tip number one. Income is taxed in the year it is received, but why pay tax today if you could pay it tomorrow instead? Think about that. Why pay it today if you could pay it later? It's tough for employees to postpone wage and salary income, but you may be able to defer a year-end bonus in the next year as long as it's standard practice in your company to pay year-end bonuses the following year. So it could be something, and even if it's reoccurring, what you did was shift everything off a year thereafter. It's kind of like you got the bonus January, but it's like skipping a year. Think about it. If you're self-employed or do freelance or consulting work, James, we know people doing that. You have more leeway. Delaying billing until late December, for example, can ensure that you won't receive your payment until next year. Think about that. Well, I'm going to bill them late.
Right.
So I get that payment later. Keep me in that margin of my tax bracket. So whether you're self-employed, excuse me there, and that wasn't a COVID cough, so relax. Whether you are employed or self-employed, you can also defer income by taking capital gains in 2021 instead of 2020. There's more from that, but we got some more stuff for you even on that topic for Saturday. Number 2, take some last minute tax deductions. You may want to defer income next year, but you also may want to lower your tax bill by accelerating deductions this year. Look, I've had this phrase tossed at me that all of a sudden we've got an expense coming, and it said, well, we need to go ahead and book that expense this year. Well, I'm liking that because I can go ahead and lower taxes for this year because that's an expected expense. And on Saturday, Jude would probably be able to help us a good bit with that. So, for example, contributing to a charity is a great way to get a deduction, and you can control the timing. You can supercharge the tax benefits of your generosity by donating appreciated stock or property rather than cash. Better yet, as long as you've owned the asset for more than 1 year, you can get a double tax benefit from the donation. You can deduct the property's market value on the date of the gift, and you can avoid paying capital gains on the built-up appreciation. Man, is that overload? Man, I could keep going on that topic right there. How about beware? This is the one that gets people. You have to beware of the alternative minimum tax. Sometimes accelerating tax deductions can cost you money if you're already in the alternative minimum tax. You've heard of AMT. Yeah, we don't like that acronym being bandied about. Or if you inadvertently trigger it, that's why you probably need to look at this before maybe you're doing some of these things, because here's what's happening. Originally designed to make sure wealthy people could not use legal deductions to drive down their tax bill. Well, what's wrong with legal deductions? Like, you can't do legal deductions. The AMT is now increasingly affecting the middle class. AMT is figured separately from your regular tax liability and with different rules. You have to pay whichever tax bill is higher.
So all those deductions mean nothing then if you trigger that AMT.
Yeah. So in kind of working to get your tax bill down, you have to worry about AMT. Number 4, sell loser investments to offset gains. And I love this. It's loss harvesting is what the strategy is called. Selling investments such as stocks and mutual funds to realize losses. You can also, you can use those losses to offset any taxable gains you have realized during the year. Losses offset gains dollar for dollar. You got that? Dollar for dollar. Some people have problems selling losers. I had a client came up years ago and she says, Gregory, I love shopping. I love buying stocks. She said, the problem I have is I hate selling them. She had a portfolio of losers. I said,
Oh, no.
I said, we can take care of that. We can help you with that. So, and there's times where you should sell those losers, especially when it offsets the gains, because you should be having winners in there, right? Number 5, contribute the maximum to retirement accounts. There's no better investment than a tax-deferred retirement accounts. They can grow to a substantial sum because they compound over time free of taxes. Your company-sponsored 401k might be one of those opportunities there. Much more to talk about that. And then how about this? Avoid the kiddie tax. This is number 6. Congress created the kiddie tax rules to prevent families from shifting the tax bill on investment income from mom and dad's high tax bracket to junior's low tax bracket. For 2020, the kiddie taxes a child's investment income above $2,200 at the same rates as trusts and the states, which are typically higher than rates for individuals. If a child is a full-time student who provides less than half of his or her support, the tax usually applies until the child turns age 24. So be careful if you plan to give your child stock to sell to pay college expenses. If the gain is too large and the child's unearned income exceeds $2,200, you could end up paying taxes at the same rate as trust and taxes. So you could end up paying more taxes than your own tax bracket. Number 7, check IRA distributions. You must start taking regular minimum distributions from your traditional IRA by April 1st following the year in which you turn age 72. If you fail to do that, 50% excise tax on that. And I have more on that for you on Saturday. And number 8, we're at number 8. See, this was speed tax savings. What's your flexible spending accounts? Flexible spending account, also flex plans, are the fringe benefits which companies may offer to let employees steer part of their pay into a special account, which can then be tapped to pay child care or medical bills, HSAs. And we'll talk more about that.
I'm sure Jude Heath will have a little bit to add to that as well. A couple things to point out: that 50% excise tax on the amount you should have withdrawn if you missed your required minimum distribution. That's the highest tax number I think we've ever seen in the code. Is there a higher tax anywhere else? We're still looking for it.
That is a spanking for sure for missing that.
And I'm not sure if I've ever heard of the kiddie tax before in my life, but I'm sure you've seen it somewhere in a financial plan. That's just new to me.
It's just like, my toddler needs to start being passed on some of the wealth.
He's killing it in the stock market. All right, if you need a financial advisor, start your search with GregoryRicks.com or call the office 504-832-9200. I'm James Parker. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.